We are live. Be Better, episode 47, brought to you by SubZeroPlunge.com, the best cold plunges east or west of the Mississippi. If you're interested in getting one, DM me or use code BEBETTER for $500 off. My brother is the sole owner of the company, and we will get one discounted and shipped to your house ASAP. So if you're interested, he's also coming out with sauna soon. So if you're in the Austin, Texas area, you can pick one up. And then hopefully within this year, he'll be shipping them as well. Tonight, we have a special guest, the head of Matter organization. Jacob's buddy came in today, flew in just for this podcast, so it's really nice just to come in and do this.
Really nice.
Spread the message about this organization that they're both a part of. So introduce yourself, would you?
Well, we're big time now. I mean, we have guests flying in.
I know.
Basically
flew in.
Basically from Africa.
Yeah,
essentially.
Exactly.
But no, this is Quenton Marty. He's the president of Matter. Matter is something you guys have heard me talk about before. It's the nonprofit that I work for, Matter.ngo, if you want to look it up online. But I first heard about Matter through Luol when he played in Minnesota for the Timberwolves. And Matter is a really unique organization in that they do all sorts of work, both in the U.S. and abroad. Their mission is to create essentially sustainable partnerships. So as opposed to going in somewhere and saying, this is what we do, kind of, get on the bus or get ran over, it's more about going into a community and saying, how can we partner? Where can we kind of create almost like a handshake with the community and create sustainable projects? Because ultimately that's going to create the most lasting impact. And Quenton's story is incredible. He's lived all over the world, literally just moved back from Africa like 2 weeks ago. And not on top of that, he's actually been a client of Be Better for about 1.5 years now, and has made some really incredible progress through his training. I think he hasn't missed a workout in 1.5 years, and he's literally flown all over the world numerous times. So we're into some of that stuff, but we affectionally call Quenton Q, just kind of shorten it down, James Bond style. Just start off, tell us a little bit about, you don't have to go too long into it, but your upbringings. I know I think you lived in Ukraine for a little bit, but yeah, just kind of give us a little intro here.
Yeah. So, it was really my mom and dad were the ones that kind of, I got bit with the bug to check out what's happening around the world. And so they, back in 1997, moved to Ukraine and began a microfinance organization. So the concept was giving small business loans to entrepreneurs, people living in difficult situations, didn't have access to loans like we do here in the U.S. And it was interesting to me when my dad said that, hey, we're moving to Ukraine to do this. It just really was, something different for our family.
Like, hold on.
Where were you living?
We were in a suburban Minnesota, in Eagan, Minnesota, so we're just like this normal suburban family. My dad's a chiropractor, grew up as I thought, a pretty normal kid. And then it's like kind of this screeching halt to a new direction for our family.
And how old were you?
So I was just out of college.
Okay.
Yeah, I just graduated from college.
Gotcha.
And,
so at least they got you through.
Yeah.
Are you coming to Ukraine?
Yeah. Yes, my siblings did go with them. And then, of course, my wife and I went to visit. After I got married, my wife and I went over to visit. And then we became intrigued as well. And so the lesson is, jump to the end of the story. Now my kids, I have 4 kids. 2 of my girls are actually currently living in Africa. And I don't know if they're coming back. And I'm like, my wife is crying about it. I always say she happy and sad cries every day. And it's about the kids mostly. I'm like, well, it's kind of our fault. We took them over there. But that was really my entry, was through my mom and dad. And so parents can have a big influence. And in this case, they did for me. And so, yeah, we spent about 2 years living in Ukraine, and we are right in Kiev. So everything that's happening in the world right now is, it's hits close to home, because we have a lot of friends there still. And so it's a big part of our life. And it was really, for me, the introduction to living outside of, Eagan, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And it was, it was definitely a culture shock. But I realized, you do learn a lot, and it doesn't have to be over the ocean, or it can be, just traveling around the world. You meet interesting people, you learn lessons about yourself, about others. And I think it does help shape who you are, and helps you expand your perspective in the world. So we're really grateful for that opportunity. And then that led us to living in, we lived in Krakow, Poland for 1 year, and started a little family business called More Than a Cookie. And so a couple bakeries that we opened there with our family, just a family project. We had 14 of our family members living there. Loved Krakow. It was very fun. came back to the U.S. and then, as you said, just got back from living 3.5 years in Zimbabwe in Victoria Falls. And man, that was amazing. Incredible experience. I feel like I'm a better human being and professional and better in every way as a result of that learning experience. So it's been a journey. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, Tom loves to travel, beaches especially.
Yeah,
Love it. Yep.
He
Well,
actually hates beaches with a passion.
I hate just sitting around and doing nothing. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
It's not the
Yeah.
place. It's just like, God, I'm just gonna do anything. I went to
Right.
Aruba in
Right.
January. I'd never been anywhere overseas really. And I'm like, everybody just want to like sit around and read and stuff. I'm like, can I see some shit? Like, what are we doing? I want to stare at. I'm like, I saw the water for 5 minutes. Let's go.
Feel like a prisoner on an island.
I gotta go somewhere else. And they take you to the island in a boat, so you're stuck there. So I was a prisoner. I couldn't wait. I got to wait to the next ferry to get out. I'm like, this is not that fun. This is not for me. I got to keep moving though when I'm places. I don't like to.
I'm
just
with you,
sit.
man.
It drives me nuts.
Totally with you.
Yeah. So that's hold on. So you just lived in Africa for 3.5 years.
Mhm.
So what were you doing? Were you setting up the small business loans, the things that matter, like heading that? Is that why you were there?
Yeah.
Hanging out with your daughters, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly. So, we learned about a good friend of ours, me and Jacob. His name is Blessing, Zimbabwean guy, amazing guy. He's a businessman there. Because Victoria Falls is home to one of the natural wonders of the world, a lot of tourists go there. In fact, up to 1 million tourists a year. They say 500,000 to 750,000 American tourists go. So it's a beautiful place. And not only the waterfall, but there, the wildlife is amazing. And so we met this guy who's doing tourism there. He was in Minnesota and he said, hey, I'm trying to get people over, but I really want to do more in my community. I'm a successful business guy and I want to help the community. Here's what I'd like to do. Some of it was through small business loans, education, working in hospitals. And so he said, would you ever just give me 24 hours and come over and check it out and see what you think? And maybe we could do something. So we did that. And that was about almost 8 years ago now. And we learned this guy knows how to get things done. He's a businessman, but has a heart to help. And that was the beginning of a beautiful partnership. And when my daughter graduated from high school, she said, Dad, I don't want to go right to college. I want to do something different. And so she said, I'd like to do a gap year. So we sent her to Zimbabwe. And it was felt a little crazy, but she had an amazing experience. In fact, for her, it changed her life because she met this Zimbabwean boy that now she's I don't know if she's ever coming back. She loves her life there. She's working in the tourism industry. And then for us at Matter, it was we saw the opportunity to, I think what we would say, Tom, is like incubate ideas in this place that's in one of the poorest countries in the world, in Zimbabwe. But Victoria Falls, because of the tourism, has some things going for it. So we can kind of try ideas there that if they work, we can kind of export them to other parts of Zimbabwe and other parts of Africa and the world. So what we've done now is officially open an office there. So we anticipate a lot of back and forth. Me, Jacob, our team, we're going to be having a lot of back and forth there to continue to build ideas. And then because it is a tourist destination, we bring a lot of our friends there. I will absolutely be inviting you to join me there someday.
Yeah, Jacob always told me that. You got to come.
Yeah,
that sounds like just like elephants and stuff running around. Like when I don't, because I'm like I barely left our country once, so I'm like thinking of like Africa. I'm like just like a safari bus driving in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, there's like a town, dude. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, oh, I don't know, never looked up.
But you can do the safari, and there are elephants there. So, but no, it's an incredible place, and so because people want to go there, and a lot of our the people who support us, generously are they want to go, they want to see this wonder of the world and see what it's all about. So that's been kind of the fit for us in Zimbabwe. It's really worked well.
So you go there, you just set up a brick and mortar there, right? Because I'm guessing everything was just kind of through the blessings guy.
Yep.
Just kind of feeling. So how did you accidentally run into him? He was doing something for Africa and it caught your attention. And then how did you know you could trust him? Was it a lot of back and forth traveling? Like it's hard to be like, hey, we're trust you to kind of lead us in a country we've never been before, the kind of thing. How did that happen?
No, super good question. It's one of the questions I get the most is like, how do you choose your partners? And I always tell people that's the most difficult part of our job, because there's a lot of people who want to do good, but they will sing a nice song and they really don't know how to get things done or don't have the wherewithal or just are crossing their fingers that you'll come and you have a bucket of money for them.
Right.
And all those things. So we've dealt with all those things, not just Africa. It's all over the world. I mean, it could be right here,
100% it could be here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, you're right, Tom. I mean, that was like the biggest hurdle we had to jump through. But what we do is most of these opportunities, invitations that we get to go to places, I mean, we physically go because then you really start to learn. And a 1 day or a 1 week trip is different than a 1 month and 1 year. You learn, kind of peel back the layers on the onion through, the time that you invest. And so before we kind of dove in, we spent about 3 years getting to know Blessing first, and we saw like this guy's the real deal. He knows how to get things done. He truly is doing this for the right reasons, and so we felt like we built this kind of shared value system, and we had the same ideas on outcomes on how we wanted to help people, as Jacob said, with a real long-term focus on not us being there forever, but creating that handshake opportunity to say, hey, how do we do business together so that long term your community can win? And he was all about that, and so it's been a great partnership and friendship.
Well, I was to say, and I think that it's important. Like when I started working at Matter, let's see here, gosh, little 2.5 years now officially, and I met obviously you guys through Luwal and helping Luwal's foundation, and we've kind of fast forwarded to here. One of the things that attracted me so much to the way that Matter did things was that I saw the amount of entrepreneurs around. So even in your story, and you shortened a lot of it, you said, well, we opened up a bakery. Like, who just opens up a bakery in Poland? I mean, like, that is such a random thing to do, but it's that entrepreneurial spirit. And like, I think that's what Tom and I would like to say that we have, and we try to do as well. And I think a lot about Be Better in the podcast is about, how can you be better? How can you challenge yourself? And Matter kind of distinguishing that just because it's nonprofit work or philanthropic work doesn't mean that you can be an idiot or a gooberhead when it comes to business. Like you still have to be smart. You still have to make good investments. You have to be strategic. You have to plan, and like all the things, you have to brand, market. I mean, all these things that Matter does very well. You know, are things that can be applied to all levels of business. And that's something that I thought was really unique, because you typically get pitched, quote unquote, charity as this like, just throw your money at a problem. And it kind of makes you desensitized towards it. I grew up with the Sarah McLachlan commercials, singing with the poor dogs, like, half dead. And you're just like, oh, just throw some, 25 cents a day saves this dog. And like, that's honestly, that's what you're taught. And this model is so different because it's like, wait a second, this is that entrepreneurial model of going in and finding a handshake with community and really creating sustainable pathways to change. And what we found, through my time there, is some of the people that we've worked with and given small business loans to are incredible entrepreneurs. And they had incredible work ethic, incredible ideas, incredible business plans. They just literally need capital to do it. And then we're seeing that come into fruition. So I just, for anybody listening, when it comes to nonprofit work, it doesn't always have to be kind of that old school model. Anyway, it's one of those newer school things. I just wanted to point that out.
So like, let's say, for example, in Africa or Zimbabwe, this guy, so Blessings knows a guy, he needs a loan. He just goes through you guys, and then you say, okay, give me your business plan. What is it? Where's it going to be? Is it brick and mortar? Is it online? We need X amount of dollars. And you guys just kind of go through an application process and underwriting. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's it. So I'll give you an example. There's this gentleman named Simba who Jacob has had a chance to meet as well. Really neat guy. I mean, I said earlier, traveling the world, you learn so much. This guy had a chance to do that. He wanted to get into to being a baker, basically, and so got some training. Ended up going to work in Tanzania at the Four Seasons Hotel. Was their top chef. So this is it's a guy who knows what he's doing.
Right.
And but he's Zimbabwean. He wanted to come home. He missed home. Enjoyed his travels around the world, but said, I don't know how I'm going to be able to make it at home. So he comes back, ends up working at one of the lodges in town as their top chef and baker. But said, man, still, I don't want to just kind of work for this group. I'd like to do my own thing. And I really have a vision and a dream. But there, he approached the banks about buying all the equipment that he needed, the ovens, the mixers, not a lot, but interest rates can be anywhere from 30 to 50%.
Holy
to
cow.
Take out a loan.
Dude.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, they bank the very wealthy people who are just average don't have any opportunities.
Right.
And it's incredible. So
Man.
we put together an opportunity for him to get a 5-year loan at 8% interest to buy all that equipment. And so it was something he had no access to. It was literally his only option that was fair. And so we put that together. We did evaluate his business plan. We have a loan approval committee,
Mhm.
and then got him the funds, and he put it to use. And I tell you, he just got an incredible offer. A big time company in Zimbabwe came along and wanted him to. They offered to buy him out and to give him this fancy job and shares of their company, and he turned it down because he wants to keep fulfilling his vision. He's doing great. He makes, I would say, like the best pizzas I've ever had. I mean, really, anywhere, not just in
really.
Zimbabwe, anywhere. Like, this guy is good, and he gets emotional when he talks to us about it. We've he shared his story, and it's when you see somebody that gets an opportunity that didn't have that, and they just run after and make the most of it. It's scary, stepping out, and but he did it, and he's crushing it, and it's
Mhm.
fun. So he's just one of several stories that we have right now. And then, boy, I mean, now that the word is out, the line's out the door of people who have ideas. Not all of them are good ideas,
Right. Yeah.
but some are, and so we're excited about building that, because I mean, back to your comment about sustainability in our nonprofit profession can be kind of a buzzword, and everyone is like it's like the Sunday school answer. You're supposed to say you're doing sustainable things, but really, when you kind of stress test that, like, are you truly creating jobs? Because yeah, people need food, people need healthcare, education, all those things, but if any of us here didn't have jobs, like, life would be hard. And right now in Zimbabwe, the unemployment's about 75%. So it's, getting a job is tough. So, I mean, we really think these small businesses can be kind of the bedrocks of these communities. And so so Simba now has 8 employees, and it was just him and his wife. Now they've hired a bunch of people, and now those people have jobs, and they're making a fair wage. And so we really see this as a way to, build up the whole community, is through these small business loans. So it's fun to see. Like, we've done a lot of things. I mean, I would just say, back to the nonprofit idea. I think nonprofits exist to kind of try things that a lot of for-profit companies wouldn't try, because there's a high likelihood they won't work.
Mhm.
And they help fix kind of societal issues and address problems. But, like, somebody who's putting a business plan together maybe wouldn't invest in it because it has a high chance of failure. But in the
Right.
nonprofit space, the philanthropic dollars, like, well, I'll invest in something that's risky to play the the long-term game, that this might work, and if it does, it's really going to address a problem. So this loan project is kind of like that. We could easily see these people run off with the money, or there's a whole variety of things that could happen. They just don't have enough training or education to make the business work.
Right.
So we tell everyone that, hey, when you invest money in this, like, just maybe count on not seeing it again. However, at this point, we've had 100% repayment. We have 11 entrepreneurs we're working with. They've been with us now for a year, and they've all paid their loans on time in full. So that's great. We're off to a good start. And I think nonprofits, it's the way we should operate, is to operate like a business, but take on things that a typical business plan might say, too high of a chance of failure.
Mhm.
Your investor might say, too risky, I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Now, would you say more of these? I mean, obviously, you're in different countries. Is this specifically outside America because of the way the loans are structured? Like 30 to 50% is, I've never even heard that number. That's
Yeah.
insane. So are you going over there more because, like, okay, we have a bigger impact, whereas Tom and Jacob might just be able to go to Chase and get a 10%
Yeah.
loan. These guys can't do that. So let's focus on this area or this area, and then that's spreading your loans out. Are you just in Africa and Poland? Is that, or is that not one of them?
Yeah,
Is that your
so
own thing?
yeah,
The cookie thing
No,
threw me off.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah. The Poland thing was more of a personal family project we did.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we kind of don't limit ourselves by geography. I mean, if we can help here in the States, we do, and we actually do
Yeah.
different projects in the States. And so we're just really looking for good partners, like our friend Blessing, and we're looking for good ideas. And when
Mhm.
we can find those good ideas, then we often need usually a philanthropist or a foundation or someone who says, hey, we believe in this idea, we believe in the partner, we believe in Matter, and we're willing to put up the resources, the financial resources, to give this a go.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
the geography is not that critical. I mean, you tend to find Africa It's a big place. There is a lot of poverty.
Mhm.
So it's just a good place for us to work because there's a lot of opportunity. And but we'll go. We have one of our colleagues who's leaving on Saturday to go to Lebanon, which right now that region of the world is seeing also a lot of hardship, but they're interested in an education project that we do. And so, yeah, so we're going there. And I've been to Kabul, Afghanistan. We've been to Somalia. We've been to South Africa or South America. Yeah, all
Been
over
to
the world.
Haiti?
Yeah, Haiti. We've done a lot in Haiti. So yeah, just kind of wherever we can find good people and get to know them so that we can ensure we've got a really good chance at success and helping people.
It's wild to me. Like, I'm trying to put this together. So your parents were doing this in '97,
Yeah.
essentially. Now, did they start their own thing? That was just their idea. Did they work for someone else? They're just like, hey, we have this amount of resources. We can go here. They need more help. And then you just kind of followed along. Cause to have that thought, was that 30 years ago? No, 25 years ago,
Yeah.
is just like, I don't know. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, were they like the first ones to do that kind of stuff
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, my dad made a fine living as a chiropractor, but he wasn't independently wealthy or anything. So
Right.
he basically heard it was a funny story. I mean, he heard on a radio ad. He was driving to the office one morning, heard on the radio, if you want to do economic development in the former Soviet Union, call this number. And
I can't imagine anybody would call that number.
yeah,
That sounds like
I wouldn't
no
have.
way.
I wouldn't have, but my dad did, and he's like, "Oh, interesting. I'm just going to check this out." And it led him to this great guy who's out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's Amish country out there. Really neat guy. Just he's a home builder. Had made a lot of money for himself and wanted to. The church he went to had a bunch of like kind of a sister church, if you will, in Ukraine, and these people wanted help with some like small business stuff. So my dad calls this number and this guy says, "Well, I'm looking for an entrepreneur to go to Ukraine and help us figure this out." And my dad just was like, I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or what, but he's like, "Okay, we'll do it." And
I'm
so
in.
they just
You got me.
they
Wild.
sold the house and just moved to Ukraine.
Is he still
And
there?
they were there for like 15 years, but they're back now. They're
Oh,
back in
okay.
the States now.
They're
Yeah.
back to Michigan?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Man, that's wild, dude.
Well, just something else completely not off topic, but do you know what Tom's first career outside of being a lineman, like what he thought he might want to do other than being a lineman? Do you want to guess?
Must be chiropractic. I don't know what. No, what was it?
Chef.
Chef.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah,
I was
Chef
into it.
Simba.
I cooked. Yeah, well, I wouldn't call me that. I was in like culinary school in high school. You like a different, like where you could leave after a sophomore year and you go to culinary school for a couple years. So it's like culinary school, but not really. You know what I mean? So I did that a little bit, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to like RMU in Chicago. So I went and visited campus there, and then I was cooking for people at this country club. I was right underneath the head chef there. Not a big fancy place, but at least I could, kind of get my chops in and figure some stuff out. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like all these people. Like I'm working every Friday, Saturday. I'm doing the best job I can. They didn't really give a shit. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe it's just a bad environment, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to work every
Yeah.
weekend for people that don't give a shit. So I just
Right.
kind of, I got out of it. But when I was 18, then I went straight to do line work.
Really?
Just a little simpler.
So
Yeah.
now you work
Yeah.
storms and holidays for people who don't give a shit.
Now they yell at me when the power's out. And I'm like, you think I just turn the storm up like so I can get some more hours? Like I'm here to fix it. Why are you mad at me?
You should be happy with me.
Yeah, I'm like, I should be excited when I pull up my
Yeah.
truck. Usually they're mad. I'm like, okay. Then I also don't have to talk to them.
That's
Yeah.
also true.
Roll my window
Also
up,
true.
so, or just boom up. I can't hear you. No, that's interesting that your parents had that much like that he called that radio station and then ended up in Crane for 15 years.
It's crazy, isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
insane.
No, when I say it, it never gets normal to me. It's
My
just
dad
like,
would never do
Yeah.
that, dude.
No, my parents,
No
no way.
way.
No way. No
Man.
way.
You got to think
Yeah.
like somebody spent the time and the money to put an ad out. Like maybe it's legit.
I
and it was.
would have never even put the ad out because I
Right.
would have thought it was weird. Just like who puts an ad out to ask someone to move to Ukraine? That's just like nuts.
Got somebody.
Yeah, that worked. Yeah,
100,000 listeners. Only need that one guy calling in.
Jeez.
the one crazy guy.
Let's go.
But I mean, look at how that trajectory changed your life. I mean, it's
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, I think it'd probably be safe to say, and this is a good segue into your training because I do want to talk about that a little bit. But I think with your dad being a chiropractic, I know you've talked about your family kind of comes from that background, and it's something that you're really interested in. And you played basketball in college,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So like you're an athletic guy. So would it be safe to say you probably would have followed that route had you not gone, or no?
What'd you go to school
Yeah.
for?
Yeah, so I actually went to a small Bible school in Minnesota, southern Minnesota. I thought what I wanted to do was to open a camp, like a summer camp for kids, because I had done that when I was a kid, and then when I was in college, I was playing basketball, and I traveled on a sports team of a number of athletes, and we went around the country and did sports camps for kids in the summer. I was like, camp is great. You go, it's this kind of mountaintop experience, a lot of fun. Like, I'd love to just like live at a cool place on a lake and take kids water skiing and just, have great experiences for kids. I thought, what a cool life that would be. And so that's kind of what I went to school, thought I was going to do that. And then I ended up working at a church right out of school, was a youth pastor for about 6 years. And then that's when I went on that trip to Ukraine. And then that really did change the kind of path for me.
Well, not that I'm the wise person in this conversation, but something I have learned from traveling with Luol and now traveling Matter. And I say this all the time. You already know what I'm going to say. You don't know if you don't go.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this earlier today in the car. You can talk about travel all you want, and you can try to show people pictures and videos and explain your experience. And that's helpful, but it's not the same as going, because I would say that anyone who's ever traveled to somewhere like that, it's life-changing instantly, life-altering instantly, because it just gives you so much empathy and perspective on a reality that's equally true to your own, but you could never really perceive or understand because we don't live in that. We don't have any concept of that.
Right.
I mean, like Tom said, like 30-50% interest on a loan. We have no concept of that here. 75% unemployment. The news is talking about 4% here, 5%, whatever it says in the U.S. right now. I'm saying 75%. I mean, imagine walking around and 1 out of 4 people actually has a job.
Right.
I mean, it's just and again, it's not I always say, like, I don't like using the word take it for granted, because take it for granted means that you understand the opposite. You can only take something for granted if you understand both sides equally, and now you're choosing to be an asshole about it. That's not the case here. The case here is you've never experienced the other, so you can't take it for granted. And I think that's by and large a good thing. But I do think it's important, if we can, to educate ourselves. And we talked about this with our kids and try to help them understand. Like, I know Tom, every year around Christmas, he takes his kids to go do some sort of charitable work, just to understand, like, hey, it's not all about you. And like, it's on us as parents and leaders within our communities to try to do some of those things.
Yeah, because we've struggled with that in the past. Because like, we talk to our kids and try to teach them life lessons and stuff. Like, hey, like, I didn't have any of this growing up. Like, I didn't have a pool. I didn't have any like this nice community. I lived in the middle of nowhere on some, like, I liked it. It was great, but I was like, I don't have all these resources. And they're like, yeah, but all my friends do. And I'm like, shit. I go, they have no perspective, like, because this is what they know. I'm like, this is my fault. So then I'm like, okay, no, we got to give back more. We got to do more. You got to see it. And they're like, so when they start complaining, I'm like, not everybody has this. Not everybody can just request something for dinner, like something else for dinner, like saying Burger King. You can't have it your way. Like, like really annoyed. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I'm like, I got to get you girls more perspective on some things, because you just, it kind of just gets lost with, this is just what our community is. This is what we're about, and this is all normal. And you're like, go somewhere. Then Jacob comes back from, one of his trips and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, this is like, we're so lucky just to be here right now, sitting here in this house. Like, man, this is wild. But to try to like show that perspective, it's like, you have to go out and help people that are, are, I wouldn't say less fortunate, just very different circumstances.
Yeah, no. And I think that's right on time. And doing that with your kids, no matter how big or small, I think that's super valuable. I mean, I shared my story, and my mom and dad were, that was a pretty dramatic thing they did, and obviously made an impact. And then once I went, I was like, wow, it changed my life. Now here's my kids, wanting to do something similar. So, I mean, there was a really good story that there's this one of our donors, very wealthy businessman in the insurance business, and kids have everything they need and more.
Right.
And his son went to Boulder Business School, fancy education, had the path to make buckets of money, and said, I want to do something different. And he ends up moving to Zimbabwe. He's living there right now, actually. He's this 23-year-old kid, and it's really cool, because he attributes the beginning of that to when he was in high school. He was like a sophomore in high school, and his mom and dad made him come to our place and volunteer in the warehouse, like packing meals. And he's like, I did not want to go. I wanted to be hanging out with my friends, but my parents made me. And now, of course, you hope your kids willingly go, and there's the music plays and everyone's happy and singing Kumbaya and whatever. But But in that case, his parents made him, and then look, it changed his life in the long run. He didn't even know it, and they didn't know it. So I think it's a lesson to us parents. It's like, you know what? Get that volunteer stuff in and do it. It might seem like a chore, might be hard to squeeze it in the routine of everything else, but I think it is valuable, and I think it can lead to just your kids making the right decisions later in life. So yeah, I've seen that happen.
Well, and look, if they don't want to go pack a meal or work at a homeless shelter, or unhoused shelter is the PC term that we're getting told now. I say that because there's a guy who runs a foundation or a nonprofit in Chicago called Taste for the Homeless.
Yep, you're talking about him.
And he literally goes around and cooks meals every day in a food truck for homeless people. And I was with this guy at a community event that was going on, and somebody came up to him and said, "You need to change the name of your truck to Taste for the Unhoused, because Taste for the Homeless is wrong." And I'm just like, "Are you kidding me? This guy's devoted his life to literally cooking for people every single day for free, and you're telling him his verbiage is wrong on his bus." And he's from the community that he's serving in. Like,
got no perspective.
yeah, exactly.
Send him to Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
That's what I say.
exactly.
Yeah.
One-way ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, it sounds like you need to call 1-800-Zimbabwe and take off, buddy. Tell the wife and kids, go upstairs after this. And we're moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got a place you can stay in some of the time, at least.
Oh,
Nice.
summer house in
Nice.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah, why not?
Just sell that to the wife. That works.
Well, in terms of the travel, and it's interesting because you just moved back, but you traveled back and forth. Yes, you lived in Zim, and your wife and your kids, for the most part, live there as well. But you did have to come back because there's things that are going on here. And, one of your jobs as president of Matter is to continue to develop relationships with organizations and people who want to know what we're doing, and they want to know what's going on, and they want to know how they can help. And you can't do that remotely. You have to be in person for some of that stuff. So, how many flights roughly do you think you would do from Zim to Minnesota, let's say round trip and back every year?
Well, I can tell you the exact answer for last year because I counted.
Okay.
So last year I did 11 flights between, here in Africa. So
And that's
basically
round
once
trip.
a month. Yeah, round trip. So 22, 22
flights.
trips.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, because I doubt very many people listening to this have done that flight, you go from, I go from Chicago, you go from Minnesota, but you go to Atlanta, which is, 2.5, 3 hours, whatever. And then you go from Atlanta to South Africa, which is 15 or 16,
Yeah, it's
depending on the
Delta's
wind.
longest flight in the world.
Yeah. And then you sleep in the hotel in South Africa for a night, and then you take another 1.5-hour plane ride to Zimbabwe. So we did that 22 times in a year.
Yeah.
Why do you have to sleep? Why don't they just line that up so you can just keep on
I
going?
always say the same thing. It's like, I want to start a business and just do that.
Yeah, no, because you land at night in South Africa, and the Zim flights are only like 3 times a day, basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so you have to wait till the next
till the
morning
morning,
when they start. But the point is that, Tom and I talked a lot about this. And I'd say, Tom, one of the questions you probably get the most when we do the Ask Me Anythings is, with your schedule working 16s and storms and overtime and all this, how do you find time to be a 5-time world record squat holder? And you just tell people like you make it. And I think for Q, he came to me about 1.5 years ago. You're turning 50 next week. And he said, I want to be in the best shape of my life by the time I'm 50. And I really would like for you to help me through the Be Better coaching platform. And this is not an advertisement for us. It's just the fact of what happened. But, I travel and I have all this crazy schedule. I mean, 22, essentially 20-something hour flights, a year on top of just normal travel as well. Like, it's not like you just stayed in Zim.
Right,
Other place in Africa you had to go, other place in the US you had to go. And so I think it's safe to say that not very many people are as busy as you. And for sure, you didn't have access to equipment all the time. But you did it. I mean, you can look on the app, it keeps percentages of how many workouts. You haven't missed a workout in 1.5 years, working out 6 days a week with that schedule. I mean, that's incredible. How much weight have you lost?
I've lost about 30 pounds since I started working with you guys.
30 pounds.
Yeah.
And, if you're not watching on YouTube, it's not like you were necessarily an overweight guy to begin with. You were, a leaner, kind of athletic built guy, and you still lost 30 pounds because you said you want to get in the best shape that you've been in. And you've done that at this point. I mean, you can check that off the box. I mean, we got 6 days left to go, but we could
still ruin it here.
Yeah, we can try to tank you tomorrow, I guess.
We could, we'll get this shelf behind me. Could all go down tonight.
But you've done it. And, we were talking a little bit earlier, and if you wouldn't mind, just talk about, I think, the mentality switch that you made, what went into that, and then maybe 2 or 3, I know you have a whole list, but maybe 2 or 3 things that were really crucial or critical to making that decision and sticking with it.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. I think December 31st of 2023, I wrote a blog because I wanted to, like, my first goal was just get to the end of the year doing those workouts. I told you I wanted to go hardcore. So like, what's hardcore? Okay, 6 days a week, 5 days lifting, working out, and then 1 day of mobility work. So I was like, great, let's do it. And so I started that on January 3rd, and then we, went all the way to December 31st. So then I wrote a blog post, and I just to friends, just wanted to say, here's some things I learned. And I wrote this a while ago, so before I knew about this, so this is not a commercial for you guys necessarily, but it is. I wrote number one best thing I did was hire a coach, and it's you guys. So the reason I say that is because I don't really like people telling me what to do, and especially my wife, but she does it a lot.
Tell me about it.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and that's probably why I don't like it. No, but it is. I mean, I was like, don't really need a coach, don't really want that. So my wife ended up signing up first, working with you
Yeah, she
guys a
did,
few
that's
months
right.
earlier.
Yeah, she did.
And she just started saying, wow, this is so nice. Everything is done for me. I don't even have to think about it. It's just there. And so I started to kind of wear down. Obviously got to know you better. And I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. And
Well,
man,
we spent some time in Seattle together with the guy from The Blind Side,
yeah, remember that?
the actor who played Michael, or whose also name is Quenton, by the way.
Quenton,
but yeah, random story we did.
Yeah, you actually worked on
I
him.
fixed his squat.
Yeah,
He couldn't squat. I
yeah.
made him squat again. Yeah, he's like 6'7", 400 and something pounds.
Big boy,
humongous human being.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the beginning, and I think that was the key for. I mean, that was what set me on this journey, I think. And so hire a coach. I mean, that would be my number. That was my number one advice on this blog. Is like, just if you have any reason to not do that, I mean, it's reasonably affordable. It's something that for me, with my busy schedule, got a lot of decisions you're making, a lot of things you're thinking about. It's like, man, I got my phone everywhere I go. I'm always like, what's tomorrow? What am I doing? What, and it's so nice to know. And that just really helps. You get in the gym, it's easy, just streamlined, and you just crank it out and feel good. And then I think it was a mentality switch. And I think you read all the articles, Men's Health, whatever the clickbait is on social stuff, and it's this get rich quick on your health, and it just those things don't work, or it's a piece of the story. And so what I also learned is, like, you just gotta, if you really want results, you gotta commit. You just gotta have that mentality. So I kind of just said, like, as sure as I'm gonna put my feet on the floor in the morning, as sure as I'm gonna, go to the bathroom in the morning, eat breakfast, go to work, I'm gonna work out. So it doesn't matter what's going on. Doesn't matter if I'm on a plane, if I'm you and I worked out in Senegal at a random hotel gym.
Yep.
And then I just let you know, hey, I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be in a hotel. I don't think there's a gym. Bring my resistance bands. And you had a nice workout for me. So I just was like, I'm just going to do it. It's just going to be important to me. It's going to be a part of my day. And just made it happen. And I didn't know I could do that. I kind of, it's easy to make excuses. And but when I just decided I wasn't going to make excuses, like, I did it, and I surprised myself,
And what by the way, what's happened to that? And I'm not ragging on any particular person. I think this includes myself, but I think there used to be something about, if you said you were going to do something, people did it, and they held you to that. But we as a society, I think, have just kind of let that fall. Why do you think that is?
People are lazy, dude. I mean, they are. I mean, a lot of people are, it's a lot of talk and not a lot of doing it. The work's hard. Like, a lot of people, especially training wise, they get real excited and they see this. You could get this summer bod, and you could do this quick 6-minute abs, and then by summer or July 1st, you're going to be ripped. And it's like, it's a lot of work. This is consistent. I got to do this all the time, and I can't just do it for 6 minutes. I have to eat right for the other 23 hours and 54 minutes. Like, damn, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to go back to my crappy habits and rituals, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm curious, Q, when you say, you're like, okay, 31st, contact Jacob, whatever, 3rd, we're doing this, and you flip the switch. So what caused the flip of the switch? Because a lot of people, like, January 1st, this is a new me, new year. And then by February 1st,
you're done.
The same guy last year, like, he just showed back up. So what was that switch? Was it, hey, I don't like the way I look? Hey, it's just, I'm 49, 50 is my shit. I'm going to rock this out until it. What was that switch for you? Like, and then like the workout piece, like I could see like you make a bunch of decisions, you don't like being told what to do. That's kind of why you want to be entrepreneur, do your own thing. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to answer to anybody. And now it's like, I don't want to think about what I'm doing in the
Totally.
gym. Like, I
Totally.
don't want to think about this at all because what am I going to do? I'm going to do what I like, or
Yeah.
I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah.
This is a little bit easier. So back to what was that switch? Like,
Yeah.
is it just the 50 thing? And you're like, okay, now I know I can push this very far.
I think that was, interestingly, that was what kind of flipped the switch for me. I was like, okay, I'm going to be 50. I got a little time here. Like, I think I got a long runway, and maybe I could even get a little ahead of the game if I give myself this, kind of year and a half.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm just going to see how I can do. And that was really for me. It's like, what would it be like to be in the best shape of my life when I'm 50? And so I think that was the thing that flipped the switch. So maybe it's just that setting a goal. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro this fall. So like, that's my next thing. Like, all right, what do I got to do? We were just talking about that today. What do I got to do to get ready for that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, I am kind of a goal-oriented person that helps.
Yeah.
And so that was a bit of a flip of a switch for me. Was, just, hey, I'm going to see if I still got it. And I think too, as you get older, I mean, maybe that age thing, it's like, I was an athlete, so it's like, I know what it's like to push to try to compete and be better than someone else. And, it takes work and it takes commitment, and, you got to figure it out. And I think that was the other thing about the working with you guys is, I mean, I realized how much I didn't know about exercise. And then you start going on YouTube and trying to do your own thing. It's like, oh my goodness, there's zillions of videos. You don't know if it's right or wrong. It's just some Yahoo that doesn't know what they're talking about. But I started to learn.
Well, those were Tom's videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't squat like this, squat higher.
But I remember even like the first few workouts, and I loved how I just, I think what you said, Tom, is right. Like, New Year's, like you get in there, you tear yourself apart for a week and you're just sore. But you had me doing stuff and I was like, it's like, Jacob, I don't even feel like I'm working out. Like, what's going on? It was just simple. And I was like, you can't tell me Lawal and pro athletes are doing this stuff. He's like, every day. I'm like, really? So it was surprising, but I saw the progression, and I started, a week, a month, 6 weeks, a few months go by. I was like, oh, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting just better, at everything. And I felt little things like, you stand up off the couch and you're like, oh, it's a little easier than I remember, and it was this progression, and I felt myself getting better, and that helped me a lot to keep me motivated. Like, okay, there's a build here that I'm seeing the progression. And I just learned a lot about like the right way to work your body, and there's a right and a wrong way to do it. And, I think I was probably the guy in the gym on my own doing a lot of the wrong things and just like didn't know. So I feel like I've been educated a lot too in the last, year and a half on how to do things the right way. So that's been really beneficial. So
yeah, it's good because we can, that's the benefit of how we train is like you get to see different stuff. And a lot of it's like, why am I doing this little stuff? And you're like, well, it's a lot of little stuff helps you not be injured.
yeah.
Why are you not hurting right now? It's a lot of that stuff where we get quite kind of not like questioned a little bit like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, I've been down that road before. I've seen this before. There's a method to my madness. Just trust me on this.
Yeah.
And just, you hired me for a reason. Just please listen to me.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, we'll figure it out. But I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's cool to see that you stuck with it for what's been a year and a half.
Yeah.
6 workouts a week.
6. That's tough to do. That's where you go from having motivation to, hey, I want to be better by the time I'm 50 or whatever, or like, no, now I'm disciplined. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people, I tell people, like some people, you just have to have another goal.
Yeah.
You finish the meet, you finish the competition, you get in the best shape of your life. Then people start getting idle, right? Idle hands are the worst thing ever, right? For the devil. So you have to have that next. Sometimes you just got to always have a different goal. Is it, we have one buddy that does strongman, triathlons, CrossFit. Like he just does everything. He's like, if I don't have a goal, dude, I'm a piece of shit. Like I'll do nothing. So it's good that you just like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm 6 days out. I'm basically there. What's next? That keeps that discipline, going.
Yeah,
which is important.
And something that Tom says a lot that I really like is standards over goals. Like there's nothing wrong with having goals, but the next step of progression is your goals become your standards.
Yeah.
And your goal at first was to get fit. Okay, now that's your standard. So it doesn't mean you can't pick another goal. It just means that goal is now your standard. So now it's time to pick something else, like climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Great. Okay, once you do that, now you have to pick another goal, but it can't be I'm just going to get fit again. That's your standard now, and that's something Tom always talks about.
Yeah, because I've came across it because a lot of people are like, oh, my goals are this, your goals that. Well, once you can actually have these baselines and have a structured schedule, it's like my goal isn't to work out 6 days a week. It's my standard. I'm going to do that just like I tie my shoes and eat breakfast. I'm going to work out. It's not, is this going to happen or is it not? I hope I can get 3 in. No, I'm working out 6 days a week. My wife knows it. My kids know it. I have place set to be. This day I get up at 4 a.m. to train. This day I'm up at 10 o'clock or up till 10 o'clock training. Like, it's my standard. There's no deviation from that. It is happening. I'm going to fit it in the 24 hours, even if I only sleep for 2. Is it the most healthy thing in the world? Probably not, because I'm a little obsessed with my standards sometimes, but got me this far. We're all here. So
no, that's a really good way to say it. I hadn't thought of it that way, but I for me, I think that's what's happened is, that goal I set. I had a couple buddies ask me this last week, and catching up with family since I've been back from Africa, and like, okay, so your goal is, you want to get fit by your 50, and so that's next week. So then what's after that? And I've been thinking about that actually, and I was like, I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro, just do some training for that, but beyond that, what am I going to do? Like, what's my routine going to be? And I think this has become my standard. Like, I'm like, I don't want to not work out. Like, I like this, I feel good. And that was the other thing you mentioned, the time. I mean, I found there was another lesson I learned through this, that sometimes, people say, use the excuse, like, I don't have the time to do that. I'm too busy. And I do feel like I am busy, whether it's travel or just responsibilities for kids, friends, all the stuff a lot of us have. I mean, we're all busy. But man, I felt like somehow when I committed and this did become the standard, somehow my time multiplied, or I just got better all around. So I was actually better at my job. I feel like I'm just in better overall, just as a human, I'm functioning better.
Absolutely.
So instead of it feeling like, oh man, I'm taking an hour 6 days a week to work out, and I just lost 6 hours of productivity at work, I was like, my productivity went up. And it doesn't seem like that math works, but that's how it worked. And it's really cool.
Well, and I'll say this, and it's not just because you're technically quote unquote my boss, but it's true. Like, when you live in Africa and you're working in a community like that, Zim is 7 or 8 hours ahead of us, depending on daylight savings time. So think about this: you get up at 5 or 6 in the morning, you work out, and then you work basically till 3 p.m., which is when we start work, and then you start work again. Imagine that.
Oh, right.
Because now it's 9 a.m. here, and we're calling him at 9. Hey, Q, you got to get on this call. I mean, the guy's working from, basically literally all day long. And so it's not like you had more time in Africa. That's probably the busiest you're ever going to be in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, here you could be asleep until 5 a.m. and you've missed more than half the day over there. You know what I mean? Like, nobody can call you at 2 a.m. and say, hey, get on the phone. Like, you're asleep. So I'm just saying, like the fact that you did it and conquered it, I just think it says a lot. And, obviously our name is Be Better. And you just said, I'm better in about 1,000 different ways. And it wasn't even a plug. But the point is that that's really what happens if you're kind of following that philosophy of, what can I do to improve? And if you're doing it right, I think a lot of those things do bleed into each other, and they do support each other, and they do build up each other, and they're not separate things. I think if you try to start separating things out, you and Dan talk about this a lot, how there is no, oh my gosh, there's no balance. Balance doesn't exist. You give 100% to whatever it is that you're doing. And if you're doing that right, everything else gets better. If Tom's giving 100% to his wife and kids, when he needs to give 100% to his job, they understand, because he just gave them 100%. If he's giving 100% to his training, everybody else understands, because he's already given them 100%. And it's building up that relationship capital with the places and people that are important in your life, because you're always giving them your best. But you can only do that if you're at your best. So you can only do that if you're in shape enough to be your best. And so it all kind of starts to spin each other, just the way it does negatively as well. If you're out of shape, then you start not feeling well. You don't want to do as much. Then you start eating Doritos on the couch all day and swinging by Taco Bell at 3 a.m. And then you just turn into this fat piece of lard by the end of the day, and you don't want to do anything. But of course you feel like crap. Of course you do. And so it works both ways, and it's hard. It's hard to change that momentum. It's hard to shift it, but it's really interesting to see. And it's not like you were necessarily out of shape before, but for sure you weren't in the shape that you are now.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see you shift that perspective. And then you went super hardcore on the nutrition the last few months as well. But anyway, that's a different topic.
Yeah.
So anything else? I know we're going a little long.
No, we're fine. Finn's not ready for our 20. So,
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool to see that you made that switch, and then you just decided like, okay, no, this is my goal. Made your goal is your standards. Now your new goal. Now you're having new standards for life. It's interesting to see. And yeah, the thing when he talk about balance is like, I always struggle with that. Like, okay, well, you got to be, this percent here and this here. And I'm like, no, you guys don't want 50% of Tom right now. You don't want me half-assing this. Like, you want 100% of me. I want 100% of you.
Right.
That's what I want for an hour. Like, to me, that's fair. Right. Like same thing. It took me a while to like make those switches and wear those different hats as I went in and out of work or home or the gym. And then once I got it down, I'm like, okay, put the fucking phone away, be 100% for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Put this away. Okay. Say goodnight to the kids, be 100% here for 2 hours. He's like, no, I don't want anybody at 50%.
Yeah.
I don't want half your, don't half-ass it,
Right.
whole ass it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want
that.
all of you.
I like that.
So that's
like
cool
that.
that you were able to kind of do that transitioning. And then also on that same point of like, hey man, I'm more productive at work now. I feel better. Probably slept better too.
Oh, 100%.
100%. I just had a guy start at our gym like 2 weeks, actually this week, 2 days ago. He hasn't trained since he was in the Marines 20 years ago, kind of just trying to get back at it. And he's like, I'm dying every day, dude. The workouts are killing me. He goes, I'm sleeping every day. I wake up, I feel better. I'm like, yeah, it's weird. When you move your body, you feel better, right? And he's like, yeah, I just got out of it, dude. But you don't realize, like, you take 60 minutes for yourself in the morning, because I was the same way. I was like, I'm going to do all my work in the morning because from 4 to 7 or 4 to 6, I got time where I can work at the computer for stuff with the coaching of me and Jacob run, or now this gym we're running. And then, then I can go to my job and do all that shit. But it's like, man, if I can get in the gym in the morning, dude, I'm a rock star when I get to work, kick that door off the hinges and walk. I'm the best one here. I'm the best. Because you just feel like you got the blood going. You got up early, you kicked ass, you worked at the computer, you trained for an hour. It's like you feel like you can work, I don't know, like twice as fast. It's just like a weird, I don't know. It's kind of like in the endorphins almost. You can kind of ride that high out all day because you're just like, I just fucking feel good. And
totally.
Otherwise that you just wake up and have like a bunch of bagels and sit on your computer. You're like, nap would be great right now.
That's not, that's what a lot of people do. I mean, the last thing I'll say, guys, that was really, it just occurred to me as I started to develop the standard was, there's a lot of things you try to teach your kids. We talked about helping, your kids understand volunteerism and how good they have it, things like that. But I started thinking about, this is one of the things I can pass on to my kids is like taking care of your body is a really, if you don't have your health, you don't have much. And so I thought, man, if I do, there's obviously a lot I'd love to teach my kids, but if they don't listen to anything else I say, if I could at least teach them, I'm trying to model it, which is important. And then also like get them into it. So, a little bit coercive in the beginning, but now my son and I, who's 22, we go to the gym every morning. He's working out 6 days with me.
Yeah.
And he's working out with you guys. He's got the app. So if I'm gone, he still goes. I was out of town on Monday and he's like, yep, did you do your chest workout? We text each other. Yep, did.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so it's been, one, a great opportunity for me to spend time with my son, but two, like, if he can carry this on for his whole life from 22 on, like he's going to be he's going to be better off for sure. And so it's been good. It's been fun. And then my wife is, my wife texted me the other day. She's like, I just did a 4-minute plank. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, sheesh.
Yeah.
How did you do a 4-minute plank? I'd be too bored to do it, first of all. But it's like I don't even think I could if I. But so it's been fun. Our whole family's kind of got into it, so it's become like almost a standard for all of us now.
Right.
And I love that. I feel like okay, well, if I don't do anything else right as a parent, at least we can check that one off. At least we'll be in
shape and strong.
At least we'll be strong.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that all of a sudden, like, without even, I mean, you're just practicing what you want to do, right? Practicing your goal, raising your standard without maybe not even knowing it. And then all of a sudden it's bleeding in a good way into everybody else. So it's kind of cool that you kind of had that. Now you can see it and text your son about working out and stuff like that's really cool.
Yeah. When he's gained like 18 pounds or something.
Truman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the opposite. He was a little bit smaller of a guy, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He's just, normal kind of young, coming out of your teenage years and et cetera. And he's gained like 18 pounds.
Yeah.
Like
he looks good.
Yeah.
And he's lifting a lot. He's, I think in the beginning I was working out with you for a while before he started, and I was, just you know, I was just doing more than he was, and now he's quickly surpassed me because he's 22. You know, and
right. Yeah, it helps.
so
Yeah, it
he's,
does help.
but he's doing great. He's doing great, and he loves it. He loves it. So
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. I'm glad we could be a small part of that. You did the work, Jacob.
I-
Obviously wrote the workouts, but you did
Yeah.
all the work, not
Yeah.
us.
We just had the one client that I posted online.
Cy Hill.
And he came to us because he tore his pec off, and
Mm.
I tell you what, Huck Finn has given me the best business ever for tearing his pec off, because I've now rehabbed like 7 of them. And he bench pressed 405 a year to the day on his surgery.
Damn.
And he squatted 700 for a triple on the straight bar.
I just saw that.
And your reps. And he's a paramedic, a firefighter, first responder, EMS. And that guy works some crazy effing hours, because he'll text me and say, dude, I'm sorry, I got push workout. I'm on a 36 or a 72 or like whatever. And, and he's still like, he put on, I put the screenshot of his text to me. He was so proud that he's getting stronger, even though he's not as consistent as he'd like to be with his workouts. And he's like, oh, thank you so much for your program. And don't get me wrong, that is important. I don't want to undersell the experience and knowledge that you and I have. And you've taught me so many things about training. It's insane. I always tell people, like, my squat literally went up like over 100 pounds. And I was an older guy at the time, just from working with you. And, and not just squat, but you taught me so many other things about being strong and et cetera, et cetera. But, and that is important. It's an important piece. But at the end of the day, we can give you the best ideas and the best plan and the best whatever. But if you don't have the gumption, like you said earlier, Q, like just sure as I'm going to put my feet on the ground in the morning, I'm going to do the work, it doesn't mean anything. And so at the end of the day, I think all our clients should be so proud that they're the ones who are committing daily. Nobody's waking to you but you every day. And you're the one who's committing to do that. Tom and I write the workouts. They're online. Whether you do them or not, still a choice that you have to make. And the fact that you're consistently making that, it's not sexy and it's not cool, but damn, it works.
It does.
It pays off.
Yep.
It does.
Yeah, no question.
That's awesome. It's cool to see. So where can people find out more about you, foundation, Matter, everything? Where can they find you?
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, so matter.ngo. NGO is basically the tag we use in the international community for nonprofit organizations. So we're a non-governmental organization. So yeah, just matter.ngo. You can go there. There's all kinds of fun stories about the work that we're doing. There's some stuff on there with Jacob and his help that we've had at the boxing academy in Victoria Falls. And so yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, we playfully put the plug in for the trip, but as you said, Jacob, I mean, you don't know if you don't go. And really, it is something that, of course, it's a big decision. It's not cheap and easy to get there. It's time away, but if you can figure out a way to make it work, set a goal to do it, you can come work out at the gym there and do your Be Better workouts there. But it's something people should really consider and think about. And if you go to the website, you can find out all the details. You can reach out to us and we'll be happy to tell you.
Yeah, so we call them insight trips, and essentially it's a turnkey trip to Zimbabwe or Zimbabwe and South Africa if you want to extend it. And it's not a mission trip. I think I want to state that it's not we're going to go and put you to work. It's you're going to go and you're going to go on safari. You're going to see Victoria Falls. And you can for sure see the work, but we want it to be a fun trip as well, not just a work. We don't want it to be a working trip. But the cool thing about it is A, it'll change your life forever if you're able to figure it out. But B, on the philanthropic side, there's this stat that I've heard that I think it's true. Q, correct me if I'm wrong, but every time somebody spends a week in Africa, that's a job for a year for somebody.
Yep.
Think about that. You go spend a week in Africa. That money that you spend on that trip creates a job for one person for an entire year. So there's something philanthropic even about visiting a quote unquote more non-traditional place. Now, as Q said, 1 million people go there a year. It's not like it's in the middle of nowhere, but at the same time, it is for sure not, it's not Cancun or,
Miami,
whatever.
South
Yeah,
Beach.
right. So, and it is difficult. It's a long flight to get there, but man, I'm telling you, if you have a chance to do it in your life, do it. And something that Matter likes to do is make it a turnkey thing. So if you want to go, we can take away some of the apprehension about how do you get there and how do you figure it out, because we take care of all that. So yeah, look into it, and you can reach out to me and ask me. And I've been several times. I'm going back again this year. I'll be in Africa twice this year, actually. Well, I'll be technically three times, but happy to share whatever. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we appreciate you flying all the way out here just to be on the show, Q. It's really cool.
Anytime, guys.
Let's have a safe trip back tonight. They got to go right back home, unfortunately.
Straight
Just
to
came
O'Hare.
out for this show,
Straight to O'Hare.
which is great. No, we're happy to have you around. Hopefully you can check out our new gym.
Yeah.
Go train there, as you're in town, as you please. But yeah, we're glad we got some time with you and understand more about Matter.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it, and appreciate all you do. I mean, I do think it's important work, and I'm super excited to get to the gym tomorrow. And congrats on the success there. I mean, I couldn't believe when Jacob told me you guys were doing this, and then I felt like I talked to him like a few hours later. He's like, "Yep, gym is open." I'm like, "What? How? How did you guys do that?"
Tom's
But,
a real patient guy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Not at all.
So congrats on
Yeah.
the success there, and I'm sure that's going to be a real, kind of a lighthouse in this community for people staying healthy. So
Yeah, we hope so. It's the plan.
And Q, what's that number again for Tom to call? 1-800 Zimbabwe if he wants to pack up and move there.
Just call that radio
Okay,
station.
call that radio station. We'll see.
Zimbabwe, Ukraine, wherever you need me.
We'll have an ad on the Score tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know that's your favorite station.
Yep. listen to it
All the
time.
sports news. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Well, we thank you again for Q for coming on. We appreciate
Yeah.
your time, appreciate what you do for the community, and in Africa and helping out small businesses, because we're obviously that's a thing we're about as small businesses. So
100%.
it's really cool seeing what you guys do. I've talked to Jacob about it a lot. Seen the bread. I think it was bread. It was like a bread video for sure. I'm trying to think of the video of you eating something outside of a bakery.
Is it meat pie? Simba's meat
Meat
pie.
pie,
Yeah,
meat
from
pie.
Simba. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's cool seeing all that and then being able to put it all together with you. So we appreciate you being on. Appreciate you sharing your story. Really cool, really interesting. I have a million more questions, but we don't have that much time. But thanks again. And
It's
to
flying
everybody,
again.
yeah,
get to fly in one more time.
Happy to.
Check out matter.ngo. It'll be in the show notes. Follow along with what they do, which is great things for the community and then outside the United States. Look into it. Watch the videos. They got a great media team. They put together some really cool stuff. So check them out. And of course, always be better.